The self. Before we talk about what the self is, we have to talk about what the self does. The self creates meaning, and it always starts with itself. Every human being, no matter how humble or righteous, lives inside a story where they are the main character. This isn't vanity, it's wiring, it's survival, it's instinct. The moment we become conscious, we become the center of experience. Everything happens to us, around us, through us. We are the reference point for joy, for fear, for God, for reality itself. This is ego. And it's not a flaw. It's a feature of being human. But the problem isn't that humans are self-centered. The problem is what happens when a self becomes convinced that its story is more important than the truth, or more important than other people's story. That is where narcissism is born. The narcissist doesn't just live at the center of their world. They try to bend the rest of the world to orbit them too. And in many ways, they succeed. Because the narcissist doesn't wait for permission. They proclaim, they believe, they perform confidence, purpose, and meaning, even when it's hollow. And society, often built on perception and projection, mistakes that performance for leadership. Narcissists don't wait for God to name them, they name themselves. And in that way, they embody a corrupted version of actualized faith. But they are not unique. They are not rare. They are simply extreme versions of what we all are. Meaning makers obsessed with maintaining the story of I. This is where every journey must begin, with the acknowledgement that all of us are ego-driven. Even when we talk about truth or justice or God, we are still talking about what those things mean to us. So if we want to build better societies, better relationships, better futures, we must account for that. We must consciously design systems that reward self-awareness over self-obsession, because if we don't, the most audacious egos will rise to the top, regardless of merit, morality, or meaning. Do you see it now? Is it starting to make sense? Why the worst people get ahead of the ones who deserve to lead. It has nothing to do with divine mystery or karmic delay. It's not a paradox. It's a pattern. A few bold, loud eyes convince millions of other eyes to adopt their narrative. That's it. That's the trick. And remember this. Most will not be over men or over women. Not in a generation where society rewards self-obsession over self-awareness. Not in a world that trains people to perform, to not become. Which is why the first generation of over men and over women must be radical, relentless, and ready to break the system from within and from without. They will be called arrogant. They will be misunderstood. It will feel like overcorrection. But that's because they are creating new standards, not fixing old ones. They will have to be influencers, but not prophets. Famous, but not idols. Followed, but never worshipped. They will move through systems that contradict everything they stand for. They will operate in a culture of performance or fighting for authenticity. They will rise in platforms built for narcissists and use them to dismantle narcissism. That's why they must be anchored in actualized faith, because the narcissists are already here, already building empires of illusion, already turning the masses inward towards vanity, rage, and delusion. The overman must be just as bold, just as captivating, but grounded in something real. He does not gather followers to feed his ego. He gathers them to awaken theirs. He leads, not because he is the only answer, but because he refuses to lie about the question. And if he does this right, if enough overmen and overwomen emerge, the people will follow not because they are manipulated, but because they are finally free to create their own path, their own meaning, and their own